Have you ever stopped to think that that closed gate in Jerusalem may be more than just a pile of ancient stones? You may have never heard of it, but the Eastern Gate, also known as the Gate of Mercy, has been sealed for nearly 500 years, and, according to Ezekiel's prophecy, it won't be opened until the Messiah returns. But wait, what if I told you that every brick of this gate is like a prophetic clock, marking the countdown to the triumphant return of Jesus? Picture the scene. Suleiman the Magnificent sealed the gate with concrete, trying to prevent the Messiah from entering through it, a stone barrier against the divine plan. A Muslim cemetery was erected right in front, as if it were possible to bar the one who conquered to death. But the Bible is clear. In that day his feet shall be upon the Mount of Olives. Zechariah 14:4. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop the fulfillment of prophecy. Now stop and think with me. What if all this is not a coincidence? What if the prophecy is about to be fulfilled before our eyes? What if the gate is about to open? Are you ready to witness the return of the Messiah? This video will show you how every detail, from Ezekiel to Jerusalem, from the Eastern Gate to the Millennial Kingdom, points to a promise that no one can stop. Get ready to immerse yourself in a mystery that will change the way you see history and your future. The Eastern Gate of Jerusalem, also called the Gate of Mercy or Golden, carries in its stones the heritage of centuries of history, faith, and mystery. Many scholars are thrilled to read Ezekiel 44:2. This gate shall remain shut, it shall not be opened, and no one shall enter through it, because the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered through it, so it will remain closed. It is as if each brick there is a silent witness that the long-awaited Messiah will return to fulfill the millennial kingdom. Jerusalem breathes expectation, for Matthew 21:9 describes Jesus' triumphal entry into the city. Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. When one looks at the gate sealed by Suleiman the Magnificent in 1541, one perceives a human attempt to stop the divine plan. It is said that he ordered the closure to prevent the coming of the Messiah, a gesture of fear in the face of prophecy. He also erected a Muslim cemetery far ahead, following Jewish tradition that walking through a cemetery would make a priest unclean. Numbers 19:16. But what Suleiman did not know is that Zechariah 14:4 already announced, "In that day, his feet will be on the Mount of Olives, which is opposite Jerusalem toward the east." No gate, cemetery, or ruler can prevent the fulfillment of this promise. Even more intriguing is that, despite being sealed, the Eastern Gate continues to attract hopeful looks and hearts. Many Christians see in it a divine clock counting down the seconds until Jesus' triumphant return. Matthew 24:27 confirms, "For as the lightning goes out of the east and shines as far as the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be." Meanwhile, Ezekiel 46:12 speaks of a prince who will bring free will offerings, and the gate will open to him. This image raises questions. Was this Prince Jesus, or a human ruler in the millennial kingdom? And the sealed gate, is it just the symbol of something even greater that God has in store for Jerusalem? Suleiman the Magnificent, an Ottoman ruler who left his mark on Jerusalem, made a decision that to this day provokes deep reflections. He ordered the sealing of the Eastern Gate in 1541. The reason? Many believe that it was a strategic move to prevent the fulfillment of messianic prophecy. After all, according to Ezekiel 44:2, this gate will remain closed. It will not be opened, and no one will enter through it, because the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered through it. So it will remain closed. Would this be a way of blocking the Messiah, using concrete as a shield against the divine will? In addition to the sealing, Suleiman built a Muslim cemetery right in front of the gate, taking advantage of Jewish law that states that a priest cannot become unclean by passing through a cemetery, Numbers 19:16. A spiritual strategy, not just an architectural one, showing that even the powerful fear the prophecies that surround Jerusalem. This recalls the warning of Zechariah 12:3. In that day I shall make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all peoples. All who lift it up will be grievously wounded. It is amazing how kings and rulers have tried over the centuries to erect barriers against God's plan, forgetting that the true Eastern Gate belongs to the Lord. Even today, the sealed gate stands as a silent reminder that nothing can stand in the way of the fulfillment of Scripture. Matthew 24:35 reminds us, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away." For those who want to understand what is behind this stone wall, just look at Jerusalem and see that the seal is not only physical, but also spiritual. And it is there that the mystery of the millennial kingdom lives. Could Suleiman's action really contain the Messiah? Or is each sealed stone just the prelude to something even greater to come? When speaking of Jerusalem, it is impossible not to remember the words of Ezekiel that echo like spiritual thunder in the hearts of the faithful. The prophet in Ezekiel 44:2 reveals that this gate shall remain shut, it shall not be opened, and no one shall enter through it, because the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered through it, so it will remain closed. This verse is so powerful that many believe that the gate sealed by Suleiman fulfills this prophecy, marking the place where the Lord himself entered and sealed the way until Jesus' return. Jerusalem, in this context, is the stage and witness of the unfolding of the divine promise. The same book of Ezekiel, in chapter 46:12, tells of a prince who will bring free will offerings, and the gate will be opened to him. This fuels debates. Who would this prince be? Some scholars believe that he is a human figure who will rule during the millennial kingdom, serving Christ in his righteous and restorative rule. Others point to the Messiah himself as the promised prince, but Hebrews 9:12 reminds us that Jesus did not need sacrifices for himself, for he entered the Holy of Holies once and for all. This duality of interpretations makes the Eastern Gate pulsate with mystery, making each stone a key to prophecy. It is interesting to note how Ezekiel's words connect to other prophecies that speak of Jesus' return. Zechariah 14:4 reinforces, "In that day his feet will be on the Mount of Olives, which is opposite Jerusalem toward the east." Everything converges on this point. The Eastern Gate is more than a physical structure. It is a spiritual landmark that symbolizes the fulfillment of all divine promises. This leads us to reflect. If the gate will remain closed until the coming of the Messiah, then every brick that seals it is actually a reminder that the millennial kingdom is closer than we realize. In 1969, something extraordinary happened near Jerusalem's Eastern Gate. Archaeologist James Fleming stumbled upon a hole that revealed an ancient gate hidden beneath the stones. This discovery was a true gift to anyone seeking to understand Ezekiel's prophetic connections to the Messiah. After all, if Matthew 21 describes that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, perhaps it was through that original gate, which dates from his time. Imagine Fleming's excitement when he saw a portal there that could have felt the footsteps of the Messiah himself. This discovery raised unsettling questions. Is the current gate, sealed by Suleiman, really the gate prophesied by Ezekiel? Or has God reserved a deeper gate, full of history and meaning, that hides beneath the walls of Jerusalem? The Word teaches us that God is faithful to his promises. As Isaiah 55:11 says, "So shall the word that proceedeth out of my mouth be, it shall not return to me void." Each stone of this underground gate seems to whisper the fulfillment of something much greater than human eyes can see. When you think of this hidden gate, it is not difficult to imagine that there lies a spiritual mystery. Perhaps it is a reminder that often the things of God are hidden from human eyes, and are only revealed to those who seek in faith. Matthew 7:7 invites us, "Ask, and it will be given you. Seek, and you will find." This fits perfectly with the incessant search of many who, when looking at Jerusalem, see not only stones and gates, but also the spiritual seal that points us to the triumphant return of Jesus. The sealed Eastern Gate is not just a stone wall. For many Christians, it is a prophetic clock that counts down the seconds until Jesus returns. It is as if, with each glance cast on him, we can feel the pulse of Ezekiel's prophecy and the certainty that the millennial kingdom is about to be born. Matthew 24:42 reinforces, "Therefore watch, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming." This spiritual vigilance connects us with the vibrant anticipation that Jerusalem carries in its gates and walls. But there are those who argue that not everything is so clear. After all, Ezekiel 48:30-35 describes a future temple with impressive dimensions and 12 gates, each dedicated to a tribe of Israel. This vision magnifies the prophetic scenario and raises the question, is the gate sealed today only the harbinger of something even greater? Perhaps the real Eastern Gate that Jesus will pass through is yet to be built, and this makes us reflect on how God writes his promises with lines that we often only understand when the right time comes. It's fascinating to think that today's gate is just a preview of what's to come, like a trailer for a great divine movie. Perhaps this is why Revelation 21:2 speaks of a new Jerusalem coming down from heaven, full of glory and gates that will never close. This closed gate that Suleiman erected, in fact, awakens us to the grandeur of God's plan, a plan that cannot be stopped by cement or cemetery, because the millennial kingdom is not attached to human walls. And that, my friend, prepares us to look ahead to something that goes beyond rocks and gates, the full fulfillment of prophecy. The closed Eastern Gate is not just a stone and cement structure, it is a powerful spiritual reminder. It is as if each brick is a divine message whispering to the believer's heart that Ezekiel's prophecies remain alive and active. Ezekiel 44:2 echoes in our ears. This gate will remain shut, it will not be opened, and no one will enter through it, because the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered through it, so it will remain closed. That gate symbolizes that nothing and no one can stop God's plan for Jerusalem and the millennial kingdom. It is curious to see how kings and rulers over the centuries tried to prevent the prophecy from being fulfilled. Suleiman, for example, in sealing the gate, seemed to be afraid of the Messiah and his triumphal entry. But the word reminds us that Isaiah 9:7 speaks of a government without end. To the increase of his government and to peace there will be no end. No gate or ruler will be able to stop the Messiah. This closed gate, therefore, connects us with the certainty that everything will happen at the right time. This gate, even closed, speaks to us of faith and hope. It represents the intersection between the physical and the spiritual, between prophecy and fulfillment. As we look at Jerusalem, we can see that the sealed stones tell a story of human endurance, but also of divine victory. Matthew 24:27 reminds us, "For as the lightning goes out of the east and shines as far as the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be." This gate is a reminder to each of us. Nothing can stop the triumphant return of Jesus. Just imagine, the closed gate, the walls erected, and even the cemetery built by Suleiman the Magnificent are nothing more than human barriers in the face of divine power. Zechariah 14:4 strongly reminds us, "In that day, his feet will be on the Mount of Olives, which is opposite Jerusalem toward the east. Jesus himself will return, and nothing, neither concrete nor sealed gate, will be able to prevent his triumphal return." Jerusalem is the scene of this living promise, and each stone tells the story that the millennial kingdom is inevitable. Matthew 24:27 brings us hope and expectation. For as the lightning comes out of the east and shines to the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. This verse reminds us that the Messiah will come with power and glory, and no one will be able to stop him. Jerusalem, with its sealed eastern gate, is like a clock marking time until that glorious day. What a privilege to have eyes to see and a heart to believe in the promises of Ezekiel and the words of Jesus. But it is impossible to ignore that, before the final victory, tribulations will come. Matthew 24:6 warns us, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Look, do not be dismayed, for it must all happen, but it is not yet the end." Still, the closed gate reminds us that nothing can stop the Messiah. The eastern gate is the visible symbol of a spiritual victory already decreed. And so, as we await the outcome of this story, our eyes turn to Jerusalem, waiting for the fulfillment of the prophecy that connects us to the millennial kingdom. The eastern gate, sealed by Suleiman, is more than an ancient structure. It is a reminder that we are living in prophetic days. Jesus, in Matthew 24, warned us of signs that would precede his return. "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but the end is not yet." Matthew 24:6. Earthquakes, famines, persecutions, and false prophets would spread as harbingers that the prophetic clock is ticking the hour. Jerusalem, with its sealed gate, is like a beacon that shines through the darkness, pointing to the return of the Messiah. Every time we look at Jerusalem and see the eastern gate closed, we are reminded that the Messiah has promised to return. Matthew 24:13 reinforces, "But he who endures to the end will be saved." Such perseverance is more than enduring trials. It is trusting that no wall, graveyard, or ruler can thwart God's plan. The sealed gate challenges us to stand firm in the faith, even when the world around us seems to crumble. It is curious how these signs, which for many are a reason for fear, for the believer are a reason for hope. The sealed gate reminds us that we are close to the fulfillment of Ezekiel's prophecy and the millennial kingdom. Jesus promised us, "When you see all these things, know that it is near at the door." Matthew 24:33. And this gate, which is still closed today, reminds us that the Messiah is at the door. Jerusalem, Suleiman, Ezekiel, all are pieces of a great puzzle that points to the triumphant return of Jesus. As the world seems to spin in a maelstrom of wars, earthquakes, and uncertainty, the sealed gate of Jerusalem brings us quiet comfort. Jesus warned us in Matthew 24:6, "Look, do not be dismayed, for all this must happen, but it is not yet the end." This phrase is like a balm for those who look at Suleiman's gate and wonder if chaos is greater than prophecy. Jerusalem, with its eastern gate closed, reminds us that God still reigns over all things. The gate, closed for almost 500 years, is a witness to divine faithfulness. Even sealed, it teaches us that God's plan does not depend on the actions of men. Matthew 24:13 reinforces, "But he who endures to the end will be saved." Perseverance is the word that connects the gate to our faith. It's standing firm when everything seems to come crashing down. The closed gate is God's invitation, so that in the midst of chaos we do not give up, but trust in the promise of the millennial kingdom. This gate also reminds us that the Messiah has already conquered the greatest of all enemies, death. Hebrews 9:12 assures us that Jesus entered the Holy of Holies once and for all, guaranteeing eternal redemption. There is no gate that prevents him from returning and fulfilling Ezekiel's prophecy. The closed gate is a reminder that in the midst of tribulation, our Savior is sovereign and faithful. Jerusalem, Ezekiel, Suleiman, the millennial kingdom, all converge on this truth. Nothing can stop Jesus' triumphal return. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 46:12-22, we read of a prince who will bring free will offerings and to whom the gate will be opened. This mysterious figure has puzzled scholars for centuries. Many wonder, will this prince be the Messiah himself or a human ruler who will serve Christ in the millennial kingdom? Hebrews 9:12, however, makes it clear to us that Jesus would not need sacrifices for himself, for he entered the Holy of Holies once and for all, guaranteeing eternal redemption. This leads us to believe that this prince is someone who will rule under the authority of Jesus. It is fascinating to imagine how this prince will gain access to the gate, which will remain closed to everyone else. This reinforces the uniqueness of this ruler and the fulfillment of Ezekiel's prophecies. Jerusalem once again becomes the center of the divine plan, where the promises are fulfilled. Zechariah 14:9 reminds us, "And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day, one shall be the Lord, and one shall be his name." It is as if every stone of the eastern gate is a witness to this future kingdom, sealed with the hope of the millennial kingdom. Meanwhile, Jerusalem invites us to look beyond the physical walls and see the spiritual temple that God is building. Ezekiel 48:30-35 speaks of 12 gates that will give access to the renewed city, each representing a tribe of Israel. It reminds us that God's plan is far greater than any earthly barrier. The Eastern Gate, sealed by Suleiman, is just one detail within the great prophetic puzzle that will fit perfectly at the right time. The closed gate, therefore, calls us to live in vigilance, prayer, and hope, awaiting the triumphant return of the Messiah. Now that you know that the Eastern Gate of Jerusalem is much more than a sealed wall, tell me, are you prepared to live as someone who understands that every stone of that wall points to the fulfillment of a divine prophecy? Is your heart ready for the triumphant return of Jesus, which nothing and no one can prevent? Jerusalem, Ezekiel, Suleiman, the Messiah, all of these remind us that we are living in a prophetic time, and that the closed gate is just a sign that the millennial kingdom is closer than ever. I want to encourage you to apply this knowledge in your life right now. Now seek God's word, strengthen your faith, and share that message with those you love. Remember, he who endures to the end will be saved. Matthew 24:13. Don't wait for the stones to speak for you. Be the voice of one who understands what is happening in Jerusalem and in the world. So are you going to stand idly by, or are you going to act? Tell me in the comments what you think of this gate, and if you are ready for the fulfillment of the prophecies. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos about the spiritual truths that will transform your life. Until then, and may the closed gate always remind you, the Messiah is at the door.